It's the show the establishment warned you about.
And welcome back, take two, to the Dr. Tommy Show, your weekly excursion into free market medicine featuring America's free market doctor, and today also featuring America's free market nurse and America's free market Kaylei Boyle.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm a nurse.
And you're a nurse today, and we are brought to you by Atlas MD, which is the preeminent medical software for membership medicine practices, where you can refill medications within a click of a button, and very shortly you will be able to refill medicines and do e-prescribe, which opens up a few different avenues for those of you who have been using Atlas MD and faxing. You'll be using e-prescribe, and that is coming shortly. And if you would like to use Atlas MD for free for 30 days, that's in addition to the initial 30 days you get. So 60 whole days of Atlas MD, you can get it for free. Go to Dr. Tommy Show, that's drtommyshow.com. Click on Atlas MD special offer. Click on the link, and you will be up and going in a matter of minutes. And our show is special today because we have our special guest who has not made an appearance in over 1 year.
It's been a while.
It's been a while. She's a head taller now, and we have had a busy summer. And tell them about your summer so far.
Tommy made a treehouse.
And what else?
What else have you done? Where have you gone?
Myrtle Beach, Fort Myers.
Where else?
I'm going to University Studios. And
we went to the Springs, Heart
the
Springs.
Springs.
Yeah.
That's my favorite.
So Kaylei is soon to be third grade. So finishing up. Soon to be third grade and soon to be a big sister.
In about 7 weeks.
What do you think about that?
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm super excited because I never have been a big sister before.
You're going to be a big sister in 7 weeks about. And one of the things we wanted to talk about was there's recently been unfortunately a incident that's attracted local attention or national attention. It happened locally, and this is a case of a person who was shot in Clearwater, Florida. And I'm just going to show a video here. Let's see if we can show it up on the big screen. But basically what happened was a person was outside of a convenience store and engaging with a party. Mm-hmm. And that party was parked in a parking space.
Yeah, a woman and her children.
And what happened was another person who was inside came out and shoved the person who was engaging with the people in the car. Mm-hmm. Person was shoved to the ground and then drew their weapon, which was a handgun of some variety, and fired it and shot, and eventually fired a fatal shot, which killed the person. So we're just going to play a clip.
Yeah, shot him right in the chest.
And see what you think about this. This is, like I said, unfortunately happened in Clearwater, which is close by us. Here we go.
It won't let us.
So here you have a man. He's standing outside. He's apparently talking to someone. And to the car door opens. This other gentleman walks out of the store and he shoves him to the ground violently. And then the man draws his weapon. The gentleman's turning, shot in the chest. It staggers back in, clearly in pain. And that, my friends, is the thing that has brought national attention upon Florida again. So we'll show that again. So here it is. The man is yelling, apparently. And then here we go. The gentleman walks up. He says something we can't hear. Maybe he says something. Shoves him to the ground. This other man on the ground draws his sidearm. The other man's turned, shoots him in the chest. And that's the end of it. So we are to take from that this is a case of stand your ground. And so what is the problem with this? What do you think the problem
There's
with this?
There's a lot of problems with this. The man,
the
gentleman that came out.
Turn it this way. Yeah.
The gentleman that came out of the store. This is his family. Mm-hmm. And the vehicle.
This is the backstory.
Yeah, this is his family in the vehicle. The gentleman that's harassing his family, it gets pushed by the husband or boyfriend, whatever he is, And that's it. It's a done deal. He shoved him to tell him to get away from his family. The man did not continue to beat him. He did not kick him. He did not have any weapons. And the man on the ground pulls out his gun and shoots him. And this is definitely not stand your ground. This is not even self-defense.
So stand your ground law, for those of you not familiar with Florida in particular, is an extension of what's called the castle doctrine, which is your home is your castle. And a part of that says that if you are in your home and someone is in your home trying to, this is the shorthand version, you can look up the statute itself, but basically the statute says if you're in your home and someone tries to enter your home and harm you, you have no duty to retreat. Now, in some parts of the country, you have a duty to retreat. So let's say you're at home and then you hear, and you don't answer the door. Well, then a person kicks down your door. And then you as a citizen, you're supposed to then retreat. Mm. So you're supposed to go out the back door. Well, in the stand your ground law in Florida, that means someone's coming in your house, intending what you think is to do you harm. You're able to then defend yourself, okay, and use deadly force if necessary, such as a weapon. So that's one portion of it. Another portion of it is where it says if you're in a vehicle and someone's trying to enter your vehicle to do you harm, then you can also use deadly force. Well, there's another section of the statute, and it's here. It says Florida Statute 776.013, home protection, use or threatened use of deadly force, presumption of fear or of death or great bodily harm. And if you go down into section, where is it? Blah, blah, blah. Dwelling, that talks about a dwelling. This talks about a dwelling again. Law enforcement officer, dwelling. There's a portion in here where they say that if you're not in your home, where is it? Dwelling. All right, 2. All right, home protection, use or threatened use of deadly force, presumption of fear of death or great bodily harm. Number 1, a person who is in a dwelling or residence in which the person has a right has no duty to retreat and has the right to stand his or her ground and use or threaten to use A, non-deadly force, or B, deadly force. Deadly force if he or she believes that using or threatening to use such force is necessary to prevent imminent death or great bodily harm to himself or herself or another, or to prevent the imminent commission of a felony. Okay, and this is number 2. So that's 1. So there's 2 parts of the statute, 1 and 2. Here's 2. All right, so home protection, use or threatened use of deadly force, presumption of fear, and then we're reading from 776.013. You can Google that, Florida statutes. Home protection, use or threatened use of deadly force, presumption of fear of death or great bodily harm. Number 2, a person is presumed to have held a reasonable fear of imminent peril of death or great bodily harm to himself or herself or another when using or threatening to use defensive force that is intended or likely to cause death or great bodily harm to another if this says a person was in the process of entering or the person, where's a part of it? It's a very complicated section with A, B, C, and D, but there's a portion in here where it says basically that you can use force if it's not even having to do with the dwelling. The person is believed unlawful entry. So this is all talking about the dwelling. There's some place in here where it doesn't even talk about the dwelling. Anyway, the part of it is if you are in fear of imminent death or serious bodily harm, then it's determined to be in the realm of the so-called stand your ground law, which also received a lot of publicity 3 or 4 years ago with the Trayvon Martin case, where he was engaging with Trayvon Martin and they said that he was standing his ground and shot him. And so that's a different case. We're not even going to talk about that. But this case here, if you look at the video, we have to ask ourselves, is this gentleman that got pushed on the ground on the sidewalk, from the sidewalk to the ground, albeit violently, albeit forcefully, is he in danger of imminent bodily harm further bodily harm or death.
Right. It's evident that he's not. The other, the gentleman, the gentleman that shoves him. It's a one-time deal. He shoves him and then he steps back, and the man shoots him. Mm-hmm. And this all happens in, it seemed, according to the video, 10 seconds.
Yeah. So here, I got the whole thing now because this is such a wordy thing. So here I'm going to read the whole statute and parse out the two portions that theoretically apply to this, or according to the sheriff. And I'm not saying that the sheriff's wrong, but I'm just saying this is my opinion as a citizen. This is the part that I think probably applies to this in the minds of those who would say the man was justified in shooting this individual. Okay. 776.013, home protection, use or threatened use of deadly force, presumption of fear of death or great bodily harm. Number 2, a person is presumed to have held a reasonable fear of imminent peril of death or great bodily harm due to himself or herself or another when using or threatening to use defensive force that is intended or likely to cause the death or great bodily harm to another if B, the person who uses or threatens to use defensive force knew or had reason to believe that an unlawful and forcible entry or unlawful and forcible act was occurring or had occurred. So I guess that's it.
Well, the word held, I think, is important there. Mm-hmm. But when we know within 10 seconds that he was not, that's not what happened.
Yeah.
He was shoved one time and that's it. And like I said before, he wasn't.
Or had occurred. It says here, the person who uses or threatens to use defensive force knew or had reason to believe that an unlawful and forcible entry or unlawful and forcible act was occurring or had occurred. So it had occurred.
Mm-hmm. Right. And we know that none of that's true.
Well, he did have a forcible act occur to him.
He did have a forcible act, but he shoved him to get him away from his family. Mm-hmm. And apparently, from what I've read, I don't know if this is true or not, but from what I read, this man has harassed several other customers at this a location at this store in the past. So
these are all reasons why maybe there should be further discussion of it. But at this point, there have been no charges brought against this man.
No charges. No.
Other than the initial questioning, and the sheriff said that he could not be charged based on stand your ground law. All right. So why do I care about any of this except for the reason that, aside from the reason that this man was killed, unfortunately killed, tragically killed by this other man in this appearingly meaningless altercation? Why is this otherwise important? Well, because if you type in Florida Stand Your Ground law on the internet now and click Florida, what will you see? You will see the media now has latched onto this.
Of the gun law?
And as the media going through it, the code like we just did with the nuance, talking about whether it said held or whether it had occurred or is going to occur. Are they talking about that?
I'm sure they're talking about the fact that the man was able to have a gun.
And he was shooting, and he was a black person that was shot. Mm-hmm. And so instead of talking about the substance of the statute, so maybe the statute is flawed. Maybe the statute needs to be retooled, which they happen all the time. Mm-hmm. They do this all the time. They're always changing statutes. Mm-hmm. Instead of talking about that, what the media has done is now said, we need to latch onto this and say the whole stand your ground philosophy is wrong. Mm-hmm. And it needs to be done away with because it's enabling people to inflict murder on others with wanton, without any repercussions. Mm-hmm. And now you'll see people say, well, maybe maybe stand your ground is a bad idea. So here's what we're doing. We're conflating two things. One is this altercation which took place, which was, as we just looked at, did not appear to be that the man was in imminent fear of his life. Let's put it that way.
Right. It appears it's not.
Whether or not that's what the statute says, it does not appear that after the initial shove that he was going to be killed. And therefore, in my mind, as someone who has a concealed carry permit, even though I'd be angry, I don't think I would be justified if I got shoved like that in drawing my concealed carry weapon and then killing the person. Now, that's my belief. Now, but the point is, so now what the media has done and other people who are in the interest of removing firearms from individuals because they think the Second Amendment is outdated and should only apply to muskets and hunting animals, and that only the cops should have guns and then citizens should not be armed. Those people believe that this is proof, therefore, that stand your ground, that Florida is like the wild, wild west, and stand your ground is a bad idea and needs to be wiped from the books.
Now, this man that pulled his weapon, he had a permit, apparently, right?
I don't know.
And I wonder, this man, apparently, from what I've read, that he's been a nuisance. So has the cops been called on him before? I'm curious about that.
Yeah, and that's another thing. If the media was interested in, that would be very interesting.
Right, those are
to
things
see.
to research.
Right.
I mean, clearly, I feel that he was in the wrong.
And there probably has been some people who have researched that. But if you Google right now, if you go to NBC, New York Times, maybe even the pillars of journalism, these virtued these people who have great virtue and who are experts in producing just the facts and giving us only the neutral interpretation of what happened without any narrative, without any bias, without any personal conviction. If they just gave us the facts, those are the people who would be producing all this stuff.
Right. We don't care what color the man is that shot. We don't care about anybody's color. You're right. The facts.
But
that's all we wanted. That's all we want to know is the facts. And clearly, the video is showing us. I mean, this video is showing us what happened, and we can see plain and clear.
So anyway,
it's very sad.
Further discussion. I think the take-home point for this is don't believe everything you hear in the media, which is obviously that's something people say, but this is clear evidence that there is subtleties which, if you are listening to just the media to present to you what it is happened and believe it, you're going to be missing out on a lot of stuff.
Yeah, you have to do your own research. I mean, I haven't researched this article enough. But I've watched the video and I have read a little bit. I want to dig deep. I'd like to dig deeper. But either way it goes, I feel based on the video, it looks like the man should not have been shot. And come on, your children are in this vehicle and your wife or girlfriend.
Yeah.
What would a man do that his family's being harassed?
Right. Yeah. What would you do? Well, let's just say if he had gone up there and didn't shove him to the ground. And like something like I would have done. What would I have done? If I walked out there, I would have taken a aggressive posture towards this person. Whether or not I touched him or not, I don't know. What I most likely would have done, though, is taken an aggressive posture and had my hand ready to draw on him in case he was going to do something crazy and draw on me.
I think most people would have done exactly that, an aggressive posture.
Oh, yeah.
No, not necessarily shoved.
Yeah.
But maybe they knew this man. Maybe he had harassed this. Right. Maybe they, from what I've read, the little research I have done, this man has been a nuisance. He's harassed several people in the past. So they could have known this man from previous experience.
But if you're, the take home other point for this is, if this is your reason for repealing the Stand Your Ground law, you have just won the media bingo game. Because the media bingo game is to say, let's dangle a narrative out there and see if any of these people will bite. Like if you're fishing. One of the things you can do if you're fishing is you can get, if you're fishing, like I used to fish for brim, the brim that bite, the quickest, they'll even bite a bare hook, is a little baby brim. Inexperienced baby brim, you can drop a hook down there and they'll bite it. Now, the bigger ones, those you have to work for. You'll catch a big brim every now and then, and it's a nice catch. But they aren't as smart, they aren't as susceptible to the tantalizing little flashy details that you'll see. And so the media has dangled this carrot in front of you and said, stand your ground's bad, stand your ground bad, look at this. And you bite onto it like that because of this, you have failed in your responsibility to yourself to become an informed citizen. You have won the media bingo game that says we're looking for buyers of narratives without any further investigation. We want people to buy our narrative and suck it up without ever thinking about it. Anyway.
Well, there's so many things that could have been different. The man that was shoved on the ground, he could have pulled his weapon as just a threat.
Yes.
He didn't have to shoot him to kill
Right.
him. He could have just got up and walked away. He
Yes.
should never have been harassing this family to begin with. And there's so many things that we should focus on.
Yes.
That just, you know.
But I guarantee you, if you're at home listening right now, whether it's on live or repeat, Google Florida Standard Drowning Law and see how many of the top 5 or 6 or 7 or 10 articles do not first talk about how Florida is a wild, wild west state, and this is a crime that allows murder to happen, and particularly murder of minorities. That will be the main narrative. Mm-hmm. Away you go. Anyway, into the Google machine, try it out. And if I'm wrong, let me know. And email at the bottom of Dr. Tommy's Show, drtommyshow.com. KK, what are you excited about being a big sister?
Feed the baby.
Feeding the baby. So the baby's going to be right next to you, huh? That's exciting.
Can we leave our bedrooms far away because I don't want it keeping me up all
Where would you like to go? Outside?
Your bedroom's got to be close because we have a small house.
I would like the baby's bedroom to be where the dining room is, in my bedroom, in the little kitchen area.
Oh, well, I don't know if we can do that right
that's
now.
quite a change.
Because the baby's going to keep me all night long crying like this. Wah, wah, wah.
The baby's not going to be in that bedroom for a while.
The baby
The
won't
baby's
be
going to be in a bassinet on Tommy's side of the bed.
Tell them about your four-wheeler adventures. Part 3 of Kaylei Raceway.
Tommy has made 3 videos of me riding on the 4-wheeler. And it goes really fast.
And then who filmed the video of the last one? How did we get the you know how the video starts off with you riding around, then there's a video of a point of view of you driving around? How do we get that video?
Who videoed that?
Mom.
Mommy was on the back of your four-wheeler with her camera?
No.
Yes, I was.
Yes, he was.
Are you worried that someone's going to find out and come arrest us?
I have rode with Mommy a bunch of times.
Yeah.
Mommy are going to race.
I know. Well, that's all we have for today. If you are interested in learning more about concierge medicine, go to Dr. Tommy, DOCTOR Tommy.com. That's our clinical website. And if you're interested in learning or seeing more Dr. Tommy Show, go to drtommyshow.com. Thank you for joining us, Kaylei.
Goodbye.
And goodbye. And this outgoing song is from Junior Kimbrough. Is My Mind is Rambling, Junior Kimbrough and the Soulshine Boys. And this is from Lonely Nights, Sad Days, Lonely Nights, one of his great albums on Fat Possum Records. Until next time, bye-bye.
Fat Possum.
I should have talked about the whole
my knees. I'm begging, baby, please. Please treat me right, girl. To do.